Caldwell, and welcome to Hurray Kimmay, the people, places, products, and projects that make you say hooray. Today I have Carole Amber, the author of a children's book called The Gift of the Ladybug. This really special book has gotten her through one of the darkest times in her life. So join me and you can find out how we can help you too. So, Carole Amber, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. It really is exciting to have you here because we are talking today about something you wrote called The Gift of the Ladybug, which is a beautiful children's story, but it's actually for a lot more people than that, and it has a really special place in your heart. We'll get to all of that in a minute, but first, just in a nutshell, give us the synopsis of this beautiful story.
So, The Gift of the Ladybug is just a magical tale of these two horses who have a ladybug son. And they're so shocked that this is a ladybug, but they learn, and the ladybug teaches them that he is perfect exactly as he is because he's very different from them. And differences should be celebrated.
So, and that's actually the main message of the book, right? What's the biggest takeaway that you want people to take from this book?
I would say the best thing is that you're perfect exactly as you are. And also that no matter what you're going through, really hard stuff, you're going to be okay.
Speaking of hard stuff, the reason that you wrote this book is because of something really difficult that you went through. In fact, you're not actually a children's book author. That's right. You are a food editor, which is a totally different part of your life.
Right.
So what in the world drove you to write a children's book?
So it's kind of a biggie, but my son TJ, my husband and I had this beautiful baby boy, and he ended up passing away almost 5 years ago. So what happened was I was never a writer until I got pregnant, and it's so interesting. I get pregnant and I want to do all of this media and writing poems and all of this stuff.
It fuels your creativity.
Yeah, I think TJ just gave it to me.
Yeah, I love that.
And it was our journey together with TJ that inspired the book. In fact, we were getting lots and lots of diagnoses and things like that as we were going, and he ended up having Leigh syndrome. And I go to Cleveland Clinic, and we're finding out all this stuff, and the doctor says, your son is probably not going to see his second birthday.
Wow.
And I just felt like this Mack truck hit me, and I was devastated, and I did not know how I was going to live any longer. And so I'm driving home with my husband in the car, and I'm just sitting there kind of like catatonic, not even blinking. And I have this story just flash in my head in a minute. And I was so devastated, but it was this like beauty story about these horses in a circle, just as we were in a circle in the doctor's office. It was these big, strong horses in a circle, just randomly in my head. And they're bawling because they learn that their son is not going to live a long life. And TJ is actually a ladybug in my head in this flash. And the ladybug says to the horses, look, I'm a ladybug. I'm not a horse. Like, I live a short life. That's me. And look, I'm perfect exactly as I am. And I don't know how to be a horse. I only know how to be a ladybug. And I just, in that moment of like gripping, I thought, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I got home and I wrote, in an hour and a half, I wrote the book.
Wow.
And I gave it to TJ for Christmas, and I read it to him over and over and over, and he became our ladybug. And the story basically saved my life.
Wow, that is so special. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about your process of writing this. I mean, I think a lot of writers write from a very inspired, part of their lives, but that is a very deep connection to this beautiful story.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're telling me that so this really is a children's book, but is this really for children or is it really for the parents?
Well, it's kind of both.
Okay.
I would say lots of the kids that I've talked to that love the story, they love it because they say, look, this is me. This is my story. And it gives them permission to be different and to be perfect exactly for all their differences.
Yeah.
But for the parents, I wrote it as a therapeutic tool for myself, so it really resonates with parents. And in fact, this man, it was really, really wonderful. He has this son, and his son is 19 with autism. And he said to me, he said, after reading your story, I had spent my whole life with 19 years with my son looking at him as a horse, meaning the same as me. And I read your book and I learned that, oh my gosh, I discovered that actually my son's a ladybug. He's totally different from me, and that's okay. And he said it just transformed his entire relationship with his son who had autism.
I love that. That's fantastic. That's what you hope books will do, too. Besides just a therapy for you, it's helpful for other people as well.
Right.
And I love, too, that Leigh syndrome is a really specific and very rare syndrome, but this story has such a universal effect on people. So, it's obviously very helpful for parents, but what about kids? I know you had mentioned to me that some of the kids that have benefited from this story, you call them your ladybugs.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about one of them?
Yes. Okay, so what was really fun when we launched this book, we launched it on TJ's birthday because we thought, look, somebody's gonna want to benefit from this story. We've got to get it out there. It was really fun. And so during our launch, we had 250 books to give to children with critical illnesses. And my husband and I wanted to hand deliver them. So we went to this event and we met these children and they were absolutely stunning. And I met this mother and her daughter. And this mother was I just saw myself in her. She was just exhausted and terrified because they had spent so much time in the hospital. Well, her daughter had brain cancer and literally about 50 or something surgeries. I mean, absurd amount of surgeries with brain cancer. And then I saw TJ and the daughter, and she's just this beautiful girl. And she just had this bright eye. And I gave them a book, and I guess they went outside and they read the book. And I know this because the mom emailed me that night. And they went and read the book. And she said by reading the book, the mom was able to just get rid of all of her terror, all of her exhaustion, and be present with her baby girl. And that her little girl hadn't been able to climb the stairs for about 4 months because she was just so just had a really hard time from all these surgeries. 4 months. Well, the girl says, you know what? It's time for me to go up the stairs.
Oh my God.
And so she said they're at an event. They go to the playground. She goes, let me go to the slide. She goes up the slide for the first time in 4 months after reading this book, and she has her mom help her. And she goes up the slide to the top, and she goes down. And not just one time, she goes up 3 different times.
Oh my gosh.
And then on the 4th time, she goes up to the top, and she says, Mom, I'm a ladybug. It's my time to fly. And she did it all by herself without her mom. I could cry right now.
Yeah.
And her mom just wrote me this thing. She said, this book totally changed our lives. And she said, Ivory goes to bed and sleeps with this book every night because it transformed something in them. And that I have just totally goosebumps right now because
I can see.
Isn't that funny? Because I just started bawling. I got that email and I just was like, okay, it's working, it's helping people,
What a beautiful example of what a book can do in someone's life.
Yeah.
So that's someone else's life, but for yours specifically, Leigh syndrome is a really specific disease. I'm not familiar with it. Can you tell me just a little bit about what it is and what you and TJ had to go through?
Yeah, so it's a mitochondrial condition, and it's basically a neurometabolic, degenerative, progressive, no cure disease. And it's basically that food doesn't really transform into energy properly. And so TJ was a little floppy, he was never gonna walk, he had some trouble swallowing, things like that. And in the end it was, breathing stuff, just kind of ugly. And it's usually like a 1 to 2 life expectancy. It's pretty severe for kids. Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
Thank you.
But it looks like this was 5 years ago, and it looks like you were doing wonderful things because of TJ.
Yes.
And you're clearly thriving. I see such a vibrancy in you.
Thank you.
Can you give someone else who may be going through something really difficult like this, what's some advice that you can give to them so they can get through something so difficult too?
Okay, well I would say patience is a start because it's a very, very long journey. But I think to start the thing off, you will feel better. And that's one thing that it was really important for me to know from people who have been through it. You're actually going to feel better again. You don't think you will. In fact, it took me 2 years to even really actually know I could be happy again. Wow, it was a long one.
Yeah.
But you will feel better, so keep that in mind. But then it's a big, long journey, and I would say the best advice that I have is just allow your feelings. So the thing with me is I would get mad or I would get so sad and despair, and just the more I allowed it and faced those ugly things straight on, the quicker they would move through me. So just allow it, get a punching bag and punch it. And think exactly what you're mad about and then punch it out, and it gets a little bit less and a little bit less, and it starts to actually heal from the inside. Or journal it out is another one, or talk it out with friends. So face it and then somehow get it out of you, either through physical talking, physical activity talking, something like that.
That's great advice.
And then I would say, if you could give yourself some TLC, TJ taught me that, and in fact I just didn't have it, I had to do it or else I would never have gotten through.
Right.
And so I really hadn't done that as much in my life. It's been like super, super compassionate with myself, but be as compassionate and loving to yourself as you can, and do things for yourself, like let it all out, and then put in tea and baths and walks and maybe a glass of wine, or make dinner for yourself, or go to movies. I would go on dates by myself. Literally, I would get sushi by myself and go to movies, my favorite movie, by myself. And I would just do things for myself and sort of have compassion.
Yeah.
So TLC, let it through. Those are some good ones.
I mean, if that can help you get through something so difficult, I feel like that can help someone get through their daily, dramas and things like that. So thank you so much for sharing. It's great advice. It's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Great. That's it for this episode of Hurray Kimmay. Thank you so much for joining me. For more information on the Gift of the Ladybug, visit giftoftheladybug.org. And to score your own copy, signed by the author, plus a beautiful ladybug journal, visit hurraykimmay.com. And don't forget to tweet at me at Hurray Kimmay and tell me what makes you say hooray. Until next time, have a great day.